The Hangar Z podcast welcomes Lieutenant Pilot Drew Nicoletti and Pilot Ron Bloezer from the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office Aviation Unit.
I don't remember necessarily how tall he was, but this kid was in the canal and water up to his neck, and Andy spotted him. And I looked right at Andy and I said, "Are you ready? We're going in." And Andy said, "Yep, put me down." And we landed on the canal bank. Andy got out, ran over. I immediately took back off. We were making obviously a lot of noise with the helicopter, and not knowing much about the missing child, things can get a little stressful. Helicopters running, guys running around. Andy went down the canal bank, grabbed this young man by his arm, and fished him out of the canal. And it seems a little pedestrian now talking about it, but in the weeks preceding that call, I'd been to at least 2 calls, missing children that we wound up at some point during that search, tragically having them pulled from irrigation ponds.
Yeah.
So just the thought of the fact that he couldn't swim and all the other factors or circumstances surrounding the nature of that call, a lot of people would come up later and say, we're almost certain that if you guys hadn't spotted him, you can assume the worst.
Welcome back to the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts and partnered with Vertical Valor Magazine. We are on our first stop of the 2026 Blades of Valor Tour. This is our 3rd annual tour, and we're excited to be in the great state of Florida today. We're here with Lieutenant Pilot Drew Nicoletti and Pilot Ron Bloezer from the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office Aviation Unit. Both are military veterans who now bring that experience to one of the most versatile aviation units in the country. We'll take a deep dive into the Bell 429 and why it's such an outstanding platform for the wide variety of missions this unit must be ready to handle. The conversation also covers how the aviation unit works closely with specialized teams including SWAT, Canine, and Marine units, the extensive training cycle required to stay sharp across so many skill sets, and what emergency preparedness looks like. We talk about leadership in a very, very unique way. Thank you to our sponsors, Rotorcraft Support, Robinson Helicopter, and Spectrolab.
Welcome to the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts. The Hangar Z podcast is the first and only podcast dedicated to promoting and exploring the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation.
Still southbound, skidding to a stop. Stand by here. Looks like you're getting ready to bail. Heads up, guys, bailing. Okay, the guy, he's running through the house, jumping the fence, through the shotgun, through something out. Grabbing the shotgun. Don't go over that fence. Don't go over that fence. Grab the shotgun again. He is armed. Stay there. Hold your position.
Welcome to the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts and partnered with Vertical Valor Magazine. And we are on the Blades of Valor Tour 2026, stop number 1. Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we are in Palm Beach County, Florida, with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. With me today is the creator of the Hangar Z podcast, John Gray. John,
Jack.
Another Blades of Valor Tour.
Yep, year number 3. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Every year it seems to get better.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't know if we can top this visit. This is pretty amazing.
A lot of pressure on the rest of the trip. You guys have done amazing things, and so it's been a good visit. Our travel went good despite weather and issues. We are in Florida. It is a bit chilly. But it's Super Bowl week. It's Winter Olympics are starting, but the Hangar Z podcast, Blades of Valor Tour, is the priority right now. But for most people, I would imagine. But
yeah, of course, everybody.
But this has been great. We're really happy to have a couple of really, really accomplished aviators and all around good dudes too, because we've gotten to know Drew Nicoletti, who's the lieutenant here. Drew, welcome back to the Hangar Z.
Always good to be back. Thanks.
Yeah.
And Ron Bloezer. Ron, we met yesterday for the first time, and we've been thrilled to be hanging out with you.
Time ever since.
Yeah, it's been fun, huh?
Yep.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome for
Thank
Ron's
you.
first
Very
time.
honored.
Maybe he'll be back. You never know.
Yeah, I think so.
Could happen.
It's we're really thrilled, and so right off the bat, we have to thank some people. MHM Publishing is making this possible. Obviously, all of our sponsors are amazing. We appreciate all that support, and we really appreciate the support of Messy Flight Suits. We're getting a lot of good wear out of these right now in the next 2 weeks, and So thank you, Massif, for the support. We truly appreciate it. We're on location, obviously, in a hangar here at Palm Beach International, and it's a busy place. This airport's quite busy, but on this airport is Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. So we'll kick into gear, and I'll just tell you that for Drew, you can go back to episodes 208 and 209 and really get a deep dive into this man right here next to me. We're still going to talk about his background and stuff, but that's a deeper dive, and it was a good conversation. We really, really appreciated it.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
So let's start with yesterday and this morning. Let's start talking about that. For our listeners, we got here yesterday and we did some photo shoots, some air-to-air stuff, and today more air-to-air and ground-to-air photography and video stuff with SWAT. Let's talk about yesterday. That was first of all, it was a fun day for us because we were hanging out with you guys and getting to fly these 429s and flying the 429s. But talk about what we did yesterday a little bit, Drew.
So I think our unit is probably well suited for the way that we operate. So I think a lot of units, so they all understand that catching bad guys is our number one priority, right? So working the camera, having good pilots who can put the aircraft where it needs to be so we can capture the evidence, we can find the missing person. But we've also determined that through our agency, our needs, and just the growth of the county that we service, that we also need to develop a lot of special operations stuff. So as we do that entails, obviously kind of the usual stuff like fast rope, tactical insertion extraction, hoist. But then we started incorporating, hey, now we need to move more people. So we started doing a lot more of multi-ship missions. And as they all started to develop, we got to the point where, we were looking at each other and we were saying, hey, how do we do this? Like, how do we keep up with everything that we do? We're extremely multifaceted. We do all these different mission sets. And as we started developing our program, we kind of discerned, hey, obviously the priority needs to be working the camera and getting the aircraft where it needs to be. So we've kind of just dissected that portion, and everybody has to master that craft. And then we started developing the special mission side. So not everybody is on our special mission side. And yesterday, when we were doing our photo shoot, you guys got to see basically the people who are on that special mission side and really capitalize on what they do and how well they do it.
Oh, they do it really well. I mean, that was great.
Yeah, the proficiency that we saw yesterday was a level that I haven't seen many places combined in one place, or in one thing. The flight profiles we were a part of yesterday, the precision that was involved in doing that was on the money. It was really cool to see your guys' air crews work so closely together. It was truly impressive.
It was. Ron, give us your perspective on yesterday.
Yeah, any day where you don't spend the majority of your time flying in a left-hand circle is a good day, in my humble opinion.
That's good.
But yeah, as you can see, very specialized aviation unit. We're very fortunate here in terms of the equipment that we've got and kind of the leeway that we've been given to kind of develop those different mission sets. Here at the Sheriff's Office.
Yeah.
Certainly things I never in a million years when I first started out in law enforcement aviation that I would ever thought I'd be doing. Yeah. But yeah, a ton of fun yesterday.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun, but the professionalism and the confidence of everybody was amazing. And our confidence was 100%. I mean, we didn't blink an eye.
Well, we
appreciate
that. Yeah. We appreciate it.
Yeah. But it was because, and we're going to talk about this, it was because of the way it started. It started with a brief. Talk about the important, not just yesterday, the importance of a good brief. We did it yesterday for that photo flight. We did it again today with the SWAT guys for the fast rope that they documented. Talk about that brief, and you're really good at it, first of all. And I really want to hear your perspective on it.
Well, you should hear some other guys that taught me. But I think that especially like Ron and I, Ron came into the unit actually before I did, and then I promoted up and out and back. But it's a total culture change from when we first started to now how we discuss things. If we have time and it's not something that is exigent. We need to leave right now. How we're going to discuss exactly what we do. And we always find out that after we do it, the more that we discuss ahead of time, the cleaner everything is, from the way we take off to what we're going to do on scene, how we're going to get back. All that stuff is all cleaned up. So as we start developing these briefs, we start encompassing every piece of minutia that we can find that we determine on the mission before that, hey, we missed that, we need to go back. So I think as we can get to the point where everyone has a very clear picture on exactly what we're going to do and how we're going to execute, we at least have a strong foundation, right? Everything's extremely dynamic for what we do. I mean, we're flying helicopters in there, and then we're putting people in certain locations, or we're putting the camera where it needs to be. But if we can all leave and have a good understanding of what the mission is and what we're going to have to accomplish during the mission before we take off, that's huge on being successful.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just developed. I mean, we started with just a regular little crew brief before, a little one pager. Hey, what are we going to do today? What aircraft are we in? Yada, yada, yada. And now you can see, when you start doing time on target briefs for fast rope or for tactical insertion, that stuff has to be pretty tight. So you're coordinating ground unit movements to aircraft movements to making sure that we're exactly where we need to be at the time that we need to be there. And all that's backwards planning all the way from when you put your boots on. So it's definitely come a long way, and it's continuing to progress. And we always find stuff, as you guys saw in the debrief yesterday. There's always a little bit of minutia that you somehow missed, and you go, man, I thought I trying to ace this thing. So it's a lot of fun though. It keeps us what it does the most is helps us fight complacency.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no way you're going to be complacent if you take your brief seriously. And I think that we're at that point now where everyone knows, hey, let's get in the brief, be serious, and knock all the rust off and be ready to go. So
yeah, I was impressed that you covered things that for a fact that everybody in the same flight suit as you, they know these terms. They know a lot of that brief, but you did it anyway. And that's important. You need that friendly reminder in your head. And I love that you talked about complacency. That's what knocks that off. And, and where you say, well, I can't be complacent. We got to pay attention here. What we're doing today is, even though it seems almost routine to us because we do these things often and we're good at it and we're professional at it, it's risky. And if something does go wrong, it can be catastrophic. So you got to take it seriously. And then we were also impressed with the debrief. I mean, that was dynamite. And I will tell everybody that, at the end of the debrief, Drew went around the room like you should, and it included us, to give input. And that's because we were involved. We were in that aircraft. Include Jen, one of the editors for Vertical Valor, and I loved that. I really appreciated it too, because who knows, some outsider might see something that nobody inside sees. We talk about fresh set of eyes regularly.
Yeah.
And so thank you for doing that. But talk about the debrief, Ron. I mean, from your perspective.
Well, he touched on it. No flight is going to be perfect. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be something. I think my attitude towards the briefing is why create a scenario where you're going to be making simple mistakes, something that could be easily avoided. The brief, I think, removes those little small mistakes because you have to anticipate something's going to happen.
Yeah.
Something's going to go wrong. And if you're battling these little simple mistakes along the way, it's going to make addressing the major issues even more challenging.
Yeah.
So it's important. You saw, because we had a couple things that we talked about that we came up with some ideas, I think, at the conclusion of that briefing going forward. And what I found is that we've been doing this now that we're kind of going through this culture change. Briefing was not even something that was even considered in the before time when I first came into the aviation unit. We are getting better. I'm seeing it happen in real time, that every single time we do something like this and we have these briefings and we debrief and people are able to give their perspective at the conclusion of an operation, all it's done is it's taken us to a different place. Where this aviation unit's definitely made some major strides in the last couple of years, under this new culture that we have.
Boy, that's important. That might be the most important thing that we're going to hear in the 2 hours, because there's agencies that don't take briefs and debriefs seriously. There just are, and they make excuses, which brings me to this morning. We got a little bit behind this morning. It would have been easy to cut a corner there. You didn't do that. You waited pretty patiently.
as much as can be expected.
Drew had an expectation of when we're going to start this brief. It didn't happen, and for no reasons that were really in your control. But my point is that once we did start, you did the brief. You didn't say, "Oh, well, now we're behind by 25 minutes. So I'm just going to cut this to the chase, and we're just going to cover a couple things." No, you went right down the list of things that you did. Talk about why that's important.
I mean, really, it's for all the reasons. It's the most important thing that you're going to do for that day. It's if you don't set that tone, then everything else is going to be rushed for the rest of the day. People are going to be asking questions. You're going to save yourself time, energy, and risk if you just focus on what you need to do and make sure that everyone steps with the correct information. There aren't any other questions. There aren't any, hey, wait, we're going to go out. What side? Where are you sitting?
Mm-hmm.
That's
right.
If you can clear up all that, you're going to save yourself well down the line. There's no reason to say, hey guys, we gotta hurry this up. Don't worry about who's in which aircraft, or don't worry about our overview of our route, because you guys see it. I mean, it's you need all of it. You need the whole picture. If you don't take off with the whole picture, then at some point everyone's going to start doing a big orbit, and they're going to say, hey, let's talk about, so how are we going to get back in? Well, that takes 5 minutes right there. So take the 5 minutes early when you're in a setting that you can actually dictate what's happening.
Yeah.
And do that then.
I think complacency creep happens a little bit at a time, right? You slowly give up the standards on the brief, and then at some point maybe you're willing to cut some corners on your checklist, and then what happens after that? And then there's this chain of events that takes place, and there's a mishap, and you're like, well, how'd this happen? And I think you set the tone from the very beginning with the brief. 2 things I want to touch on. I'll start with the brief. You did a really good job briefing with SWAT guys. We're really good about briefing with our own aviation program, but when we bring outside entities in, even from our own department, sometimes it's challenging, right? Cultures are different. Their mindset's different. Talk about how you guys have kind of worked with SWAT and developed a culture to where you guys are on the same page. You come in, and I'll be honest, a lot of guys are intimidated by SWAT guys. They're just different set of missions, different mindset. Talk about that culture you developed and how beneficial that is for you guys.
This has been the only experience I've had in my 22-ish years here as a deputy at the sheriff's office working directly with the SWAT team. I never saw these guys prior to that, and if I did, I saw them down at the end of the street running from one side to the other, from one bush to the next. Yeah, I will say that was definitely something that when I realized we were going to start fast roping these guys, we were going to start the aerial use of force program, how that was going to work. I think because of the cool factor, I don't want to say that they saw us as equals, but I definitely thought that they at least have enough confidence that they felt like they could work with us. And so far, it's been a excellent match. Not everybody does it. This is kind of a select few on the SWAT team that actually participate in fast rope and the aerial use of force. But I think just kind of like what you touched on, if you sort of make them feel as though they are part of the crew, there's some buy-in there. And I think they start to take their role a little bit more seriously. They're not just focused on squeezing a trigger or just focused on going down a rope. Now they actually see themselves as potentially helping with decision-making, or maybe the communication thing. You know, they see something that doesn't look quite right. Don't keep that to yourself. Share that information, because the pilot might not know, the co-pilot might not know, the 3 guys sitting next to you, they might not be aware. So having that dynamic where these guys feel like they're part of the group, it's not a division, us versus them type thing. It's been from the get-go, a pretty good teamwork dynamic, I think, with the SWAT team so far.
Yeah, I think so too. I think a lot of that has to do with, so like when we do our training, we typically will hire outside companies, but like we set the tone as far as our aircraft availability, our crew availability. So if we do a big class, we do like a fast rope class, or we do an aero platform class, all of our people are there, all of their people are there, and it's like we're starting all together. And then they're briefed on the first thing we're going to do is aircraft safety. So they're briefed, hey, when you're in this aircraft, you're a crew member. So you need to help clear. You need to be looking outside for another aircraft coming at us. So once they have that buy-in like Ron's talking about, now we're all one cohesive crew, even though we're going to drop 4 of you off on a rooftop somewhere, but still we're all one crew. And then it's all about also just relationship building. Like, we go out to the range. The guys who are doing the special mission stuff are constantly around them. So not only do we train together, but we joke together. We eat together. We are around each other enough to where we're comfortable. We know each other's, our habits. We know each other's families. We're around each other. When you do that, then it isn't just, a job where you just hop in and trust a guy with your life.
Yep.
Now it's like, hey, I know him. I know exactly what I'm getting into. I'm aware of their limitations. I'm aware of their capabilities. And that's just this comfort level that just kind of takes over. And then that allows you to focus on the mission.
So for a new unit supervisor, someone who hasn't started a program like this yet, where they're working hand in hand with SWAT operators for whatever the reason, what's your advice to them as far as the first step to start building that culture?
Thank you to our sponsor, Rotorcraft Support. Rotorcraft Support, from the hangar floor to the flight line. We've spent 40 years caring for the aircraft that communities rely on every day. Rotorcraft Support, where dedication meets decades of experience.
I would strongly encourage them. So, like, our SWAT guys, like, not everyone has access to the hangar, first off. Like, it's just not a thing. We don't want people coming in and out. It's a controlled environment. We're on an active international airport. Our SWAT guys have access to the hangar. They can come in here. We like to open it up to them. We can't leave because we got stuff, we obviously launch for missions, so we have to eat here. So if they're doing something close by, we say, hey, come on by. Get the units together first, find out kind of how you guys are going to work together. Don't just throw it into like some giant training event where everyone kind of separates on the other side of the room, You don't want that. But build those relationships because it's really important.
Absolutely.
That's great advice. Great advice. One other thing before we move on here, I noticed this morning and yesterday, but after you gave your brief to both pilots and to SWAT, you went to your pilots, hey, question? I mean, individually, any questions? And that is so important to do. There's people that say, well, I did my brief. Well, hold on. Did you solicit questions? Because sometimes it takes that little nudge for somebody to ask a question, to the point where I've been in on a lot of the briefs for Special Operations Aviation Regiment over the years back in the day. And they would go around do that. And at the very end, they would say, alibis. They called it alibis. And it was like, if Ron has a question still in his head, he better speak up right now because I'm giving you an alibi. You've already been asked if you have a question, but before we stop the brief, you get one more shot at it. And if you don't take it, and then we're walking out and you say, hey, Jack, what was that frequency again? Oh, my God. It's gonna explode. I love that.
Yeah,
alibis
because, and saved rounds.
Yeah.
Send them. Yeah.
What is saved ground?
Alibis and saved rounds.
Saved rounds.
Rounds.
Okay,
yeah,
rounds.
It's common. It should be said.
Yeah. It has to be said, because if you're thinking it, everybody's heard this. If you're thinking it, somebody else is too, and maybe the whole room's thinking it.
Yeah.
You might have said a frequency, and everybody's going, he said 05, right? But nobody's saying anything, and now the whole room is thinking it's something that it's not. Could that be a factor later? Yes, it could. We all know that a little thing like that can create a problem later. And it's a little thing till it's a big thing. Mm-hmm. So really impressed. We talked about this away from you guys. We're not just blowing smoke here at how impressed we were. There's been other places we've been to where we've been impressed too. San Diego, Matt did a great job in San Diego with his brief. But there's places that we both know that it's not like that.
Well, I've seen it here under this roof.
Sure.
I've seen both sides.
Yes.
I've seen without and I've seen it with now, and I'm a believer. Without it is you're just rolling dice, and at some point it's gonna come back and bite you. To take an additional 15 or 20 minutes to sit down and talk about what you're going to do, and then make sure that everybody understands what's going on. Nobody wants to be that guy and raise the hand and ask a bunch of questions, but I think if you create an atmosphere where you're expected to reach out and ask somebody if they have any questions, or if you're starting to get the idea that maybe they don't quite understand or they're not getting it, let's go a little bit further and make sure that they've got the information that they need and that they understand it.
Yeah,
that's so important. A lot of embarrassment down the road, and maybe a lot worse.
That's right. That's the key. Embarrassment's one thing.
Yeah,
tragedy's another thing. And everyone would kick themselves later and go, "I knew it. We should have asked." No.
That gut thing. That's my thing. We're going through a period right now where we've had a couple of retirements and some new people coming in, and the one thing I've been trying to share with them is if you have that sensation in your gut, you owe it to yourself. And if not to yourself, think about the person sitting next to you. Think about their wife, their kids, their parents. You've got to do something, because I think pretty much anybody in aviation at some point's been somewhere and had that feeling and kept pushing ahead and was lucky enough to get to the other side without any issue. But with these new guys and girls that are coming in who don't have any bad habits yet, they'll start flight training way down the road. But that's the one thing I want to hammer home is you gotta speak up. Do not be afraid to open your mouth and ask questions.
Good from day one. That's great.
That's the biggest.
That will pay dividends down the road.
Yeah.
You may never even know what that dividend was, but it exists.
Yeah, nobody here is going to make you feel stupid for asking a question.
Yeah.
That'll never happen.
Yeah, down the road, something will not happen that woulda had you not had that culture.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, how was the culture in Ontario? I mean, was it evolving or?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't to the level you guys are. I'll tell you that. We were good at briefing stuff when we had incidents come up. We debriefed things when things went awry or we thought we needed to debrief, but it wasn't a systematic process of debriefing everything, which it should be. I like that you guys did that. One thing you did in the debrief that I thought was great was you fell on the sword for something that you did. I don't even remember what it is now, but you said, "This is on me," whatever it was. I don't remember. But I think setting that environment to where, hey, everyone messes up, including myself. It's okay, right? We're learning, we're getting better. So I think setting that tone is critical for that debrief. So good on you for that.
Yeah, I'm definitely not perfect.
if the boss is big enough to admit his or her mistakes, then there's nobody else in that room that shouldn't feel the same.
Right? I feel the same way, John. The two things that you brought up a couple of things recently. Man, I should have talked about that more thoroughly. And it started with a lieutenant saying that. I like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, because now me, the lowly pilot, is going, yeah, I think I can talk about something I did too. Mm-hmm. And they don't even know I did this, but I'm going to tell them. It goes back to the Blue Angel stuff that we've talked about many times. And but that was worth talking about here in the beginning because it was so successful. And I will add, I will ask, I should say, how did things go this morning? We didn't fly out on this morning's operation, but it was well briefed. And I when I saw you guys take off, I go, this is going to go great. Did it?
It went per briefed. There was definitely a couple things that kind of snuck up on us. The comms with the Marine unit boat and stuff like that. It wasn't critical to the success, but it's definitely things that moving forward. One, I really like that training area. So I think I'll try and use that a little bit more.
The whole time this thing was going down, I kept thinking we're definitely coming back for sure. Yeah.
I liked it a lot. Yeah. But we will definitely need a little bit more ground coverage just to make sure that pedestrians, there's a walkway that nobody really was using it today, but there was a couple instances where it was like, somebody came around the corner. That'd probably be a little too close for us.
Right.
I think, there's always going to be little things. We had aircraft flying over top, which is not really a big deal. So probably like pre-coordination with tower. We're not necessarily in the Charlie, but we're pretty close. They're familiar with us. They like us. We work well together. But as much heads up as we can include with them, that's kind of like the little stuff that comes up. Yeah. No safety of flight stuff. That's always going to my first question is like, hey, any safety of flight stuff? We won't iron that out. But as long as there wasn't anything like that. Everything else we can work through. SWAT guys, they were all happy with everything that went on. We had a couple just timing issues. We like it to be crisp, super crisp. Plus or minus 3 feet for the location that we're landing on, that those guys are putting down on is always our standard. Doesn't matter if it's hoist, fast rope, whatever we're doing, we want to be right where we are. So anything that's going to be off of that, we're going to talk about.
I like the high standard thing. There's a saying that one of my bosses had: aim small, miss small. If your standards are really high and you're off by a little bit, that sucks. But your standard's so high, it's not detrimental to the mission itself. Whereas if there's not really big standards and you're like, oh, kind of whatever goes, that changes the whole game. So I like the standard you're setting there.
Yeah, we're all cops, right? So you got the big silhouette on the range. Okay, I can hit the silhouette. What does that do for you? That none of that's a light switch. If you got to be tight, then hold yourself tight.
Mm-hmm.
That's what counts. That's what matters.
Yeah.
So, we're just doing that, but we're doing it with aircraft.
Love it.
Yeah. I've been around a lot of SWAT guys over the years, and I can tell you that what I observed this morning from the 4 guys that came up were they have confidence in you guys. It reeked of confidence. Just the way they talked to us, the way they were talking about what was going to happen, their demeanor. They are really confident, you guys. It is so evident. And maybe I think you notice it, but I'm just telling you as an outsider that's been around SWAT guys that really impacted me. I was watching them and going, man, they know this is going to be good.
In the beginning, you could tell what the little bit of unfamiliarity they had working around helicopters.
Oh, I bet.
Definitely there, but I will say that, yes, you definitely picked up on something. It's very obvious to me now that these guys over time have – again, the team dynamic that we've got, these guys are very confident. They walk through the door and they see who's working that day, and they see who's going to be flying them. Yeah. Big grins come across their faces, and they're excited to go to work.
Yeah.
So that's a good feeling.
Yeah, it is. It is, and it doesn't happen overnight. It takes work, like we talked about, and like both of you conveyed how you do that, but it has to be done because they're trusting you.
Sure,
and you're trusting them to
do
the right things too.
Yeah, they're in the middle of trying to do something at the same time you're trying to do your thing. So they kind of have to put that aside. They can't be thinking about what the 2 guys are doing up front when they're trying to do what they're doing.
Yeah, they just need to stay sharp and wait for 1 minute out, and get ready to whatever mission it is that you're doing. So that was great. Good first conversation with you guys. So let's switch gears and let's go to you first, Ron, because we've talked to Drew. I mean, we know everything about him. He's gonna give us some more about him too. But let's talk about your journey here to law enforcement and then into aviation.
So my father just retired in 2023 after
that's cool.
48 years of service to the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office.
Oh my! Wow.
Yes,
he beat Tony.
He did. I didn't think that was possible.
48 years, yeah.
Wow. That's incredible.
Almost a half a century as a sheriff's deputy with Palm Beach County. Things have changed significantly since then, as you might imagine. But I don't remember my first helicopter ride. I understand I was in diapers at the time. But there came a time where probably the age of 4 or 5 years old, my dad had a couple of friends of his that were pilots in the aviation unit, and it would be typical on a Friday night or a Saturday during the day to come down to the hangar and go for a ride in the helicopter. And from probably the age of 4 or 5, I knew instantaneously what I wanted to do.
Wow.
So, yes, this is not the facility that the sheriff's office was occupying back then, but it did exist just here adjacent to the one we're in right now. And some of my earliest childhood memories took place right over here across the ramp. And, that's a obsession. We'll call it an obsession with helicopters. My mother has all the patience in the world, and I'm sure I probably just stream of consciousness spoke about helicopters. If there was a helicopter toy somewhere where we were, I was going home with it. Definitely that's how I got the introduction to very supportive parents. And I joined the Air Force out of high school. I joined the reserves. There was a time there where I thought maybe I would explore flying in the Air Force. But not a lot of confidence. I thought probably as an academic endeavor, it was something that was beyond me. But always maintained kind of that I would probably wind up coming back here and trying to fly helicopters.
That is cool. Boy, that's a first that we've heard. I mean, when you're flying as a baby, you know, in the unit that you end up in. Incredible.
So
incredible.
Did your dad retire from this unit?
He actually was never assigned to the aviation unit, but there was a time when he was in the Marine unit where they were short on guys over here, and he would moonlight. They would call him up and say, hey, so-and-so called out sick tonight. Are you able to take his seat? And I do remember we had 2 flight suits hanging here. He had 2 flight suits hanging in his closet. And occasionally he'd get the call. He'd come over here and fill in when somebody was either out on vacation or sick.
Wow, that is really cool. So the next obvious question is, did you ever work with your dad and doing anything as you
yes, my dad's last 10 or 12 years with the agency was in a specialized unit doing, he was assigned to the narcotics division. He didn't actually do narcotics investigations, but when they would have large operations, search warrants, he would be called in to help out. They bring all the guys from all the different facets of the narcotics division in to come help out with paperwork, collection of evidence, surveillance, which is something that he did quite a bit of. And I've worked numerous surveillances that my dad was on the ground and he was talking on the radio and I was up in the helicopter talking on the radio.
That is really great.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that is.
That, and the only other thing I have to add is I did attend our annual in-service with him one year, our defensive tactics. And for a guy for a guy in his early to mid 60s, he could still hit like a truck. So, kind of behind the scenes.
That is great.
There's a dad strength thing, right? Like
yes,
you can never, as a son, beat your dad up.
And we're doing. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Red Man, but that happened to be one year where Red Man was a part of the curriculum, and Dad can hit. Dad can hit pretty hard. So,
that's wild.
Yeah.
So you knew you wanted to come here, obviously, after becoming a deputy.
Yes.
Even before that, but you became a deputy with that goal in mind as aviation.
Yes.
But what did you do to get here in between?
Yeah, that's an interesting story in and of itself. So probably within the first couple weeks of field training, when I was a newly hired patrol deputy here, everybody always asks, "What are your aspirations? Where do you see your career going? Are you going to promote, or do you want to go to a specialized unit?" And I was very quick to tell them I'm going to fly helicopters here one day. The problem with that is that a lot of people at the time, a lot of people would tell me that, you'll never get into aviation. It's a lost cause, kid. You don't want anything to do with that. It's a dead-end job. Once you go there, it's so specialized that it'll be hard to promote. It would be hard to go to another specialized unit like an investigative division. On top of the fact that, you have to know somebody to get in the unit. The turnover there, they usually have a vacancy once every 25 to 30 years. And I will say that after hearing that enough times, I tried to put it out of my mind that it was even a possibility.
Thank you to our sponsor, SpectroLab. SpectroLab, a pioneer and world-leading supplier of high-intensity searchlights for all para-public operations. Visit www.spectrolab.com to learn more about our third-generation Night Sun series high-intensity searchlight. When reliability and performance is critical to your mission, count on SpectroLab Night Sun searchlights.
For the sake of brevity, fast forward about 6 years into the job, I happened to be over at our purchasing division, either getting uniforms or picking something up. I don't remember exactly what I was doing. There was a photograph on the wall of one of our pilots. Somebody took a candid photo of him flying the helicopter, Dave Clark. I don't know if he listens to the podcast or not. But I remember looking over at the photo of Dave when I was walking up to the counter to get whatever it was I was there for. And I envisioned myself there 30 years later, turning my stuff in as I was getting to retire and thinking back over the course of my career. And if I had tried to get in the aviation unit, maybe I would have gotten in. But if I didn't try, I sure as heck was not going to get in the aviation unit. It was that day, that afternoon, I decided that I was going to start working on my pilot's license. At the time, you had to have a private pilot's license, a certificate. It didn't matter whether it was airplanes or helicopters, and an instrument rating. So I decided right then and there I was going to, wasn't sure I was going to pay for it at that point, but I took the first step, went down to the flight school, got the collection of CD-ROMs. I know, I don't know, some of these kids watching the podcast know what CD-ROM is. King Schools, the Cessna ground school. And
John and Martha, right?
John and Martha King. Yep. And I started taking lessons on my days off, and I had a very considerate sergeant during a portion of my road patrol career who let me take a couple hours off in the morning. I gave him a stack of vacation slips with partial leave on them, and I would go down to the airport first thing in the morning, do a lesson, and then I'd leave. I'd be half-dressed. I have my uniform pants on, and then I'd leave the airport and go find a parking lot somewhere to finish getting dressed, and then went to work afterwards. Yeah.
Wow. Great background story. I love that. Can you recall a specific incident as a patrol road deputy where aviation was with you that where you go, I will never forget that?
Yes, as a matter of fact, quite a clear memory still to this day. It's a little embarrassing, but I was in a Taco Bell drive-thru. Yeah, I stopped at Taco Bell to get dinner one night, and it was dusk. It was just about dark. I ran the tag on the car in front of me, and the tag didn't have a record, or there was no record found. The car went through the drive-thru, got dinner. I made sure to get my tacos. Once I got my tacos, I started to follow the car. This was probably had to be my first or second year as a deputy. Tried to stop the car. The car didn't stop. I followed the car with my lights on for some distance. It's now dark. The car went into a tree nursery, went off-road basically, and drove all the way back into this tree nursery. We would later find out that the nursery was on his parents' property. So the home was at the front of the property. He went in through the back, but we went basically into the woods. And I followed him all the way back, jumped out of my car. He got out of the passenger side and took off running into the darkness. And at that point, I realized that's when my brain caught up with me. That I didn't know where I was. I hadn't called any of this out on the radio. So I go back to my car, and I'm starting to think, how am I going to put this out? Long story short, in an effort to help me figure out where I was at, the helicopter was called out. At the time, we had a Jet Ranger, so I remember the sound of the helicopter as it was starting to approach. And what stands out most for me about that particular incident was they were looking for me, and they couldn't find me. So I had a mag light at the time, one of the ones with the 5 D-cell batteries. Also for the kids, they won't know anything about that. But I remember standing there, aiming this mag light, which by today's standards, not very powerful at all. And I'm shining it, I'm turning it off and on, trying to signal to them, and they're just on the radio saying, yep, we can't find them. And I just was cussing. I was furious that these guys couldn't see me because I figured they're up there.
Yeah,
they're looking down. This has to be the most obvious search that they've ever done. Here's somebody that wants to be found and is trying diligently to get their attention, and they still can't see me. And I've never forgotten that because that's one of those misconceptions, right? Everybody thinks that you're up there and you can see everything. The problem is sometimes you can't see anything.
Right.
And sometimes you see too much. So, yes, that was probably my very first call as a patrol deputy where the helicopter came out, and it was for me.
That's great.
There was a young trainee on my department. He was in FTO training. Similar thing, got foot pursuit of a suspect. He lost his FTO, and the FTO ended up setting a perimeter for his own trainee because he couldn't figure out where he was. So the trainee took the name Nemo, Finding Nemo, because of that. So he's now a captain.
Well deserved.
Captain Nemo.
Captain Nemo.
Yeah, that's a good
That's
one.
great. You learn a lot, right? But that particular situation for you at an early point in your career was great to realize some of the capabilities, right, in the helicopter. You talk about not being able to see things. Sometimes you're looking in the monitor through a straw, and you're following a suspect through yards or whatever. The ground units think that, he can just come off that and set a perimeter without losing the suspect. Having that awareness of the capabilities of the aircraft is huge. So it's good. Probably.
Massive disconnect between what the guys and girls do on the road and what we do up top. That's Drew, recently, I don't want to get ahead of the conversation here, but Drew has made a diligent effort to try to start bringing people what we call TDY or temporary duty to the aviation unit and actually give them a chance to sit up front and work the camera system. Actually, one of the aircraft has a really beautiful monitor in the back where if need be, they can sit in the back and have they can operate the controls for the camera from the rear of the aircraft with 2 pilots up front. And I'm hoping, or at least I'm optimistic, that that's going to continue, because I think even if people who think they may be interested in aviation come over to have a taste or give it a try and then decide it's not necessarily for them, I know they're going to take back to the road, or anywhere for that matter, their experience here. And maybe, like I had to learn to develop a little bit of patience, or that particular instance, my perspective on the ground taught me a tremendous amount of patience, and I think that that works both ways.
Yeah.
So these folks can go back to their respective units and say, hey, look, I've been up there. I know what they're dealing with. Just, give them a second, let them do their thing. Because I still cringe at the thought of it. I know how you all know how cockpit commentary goes on some of these calls.
Yeah, for sure.
I still cringe when I think about the cockpit commentary that night I got lost in the woods.
As he's talking about that, I'm thinking of your guys' loan program, and the success rate wasn't real high, but I think there was a benefit to that, and what he just talked about.
Yeah.
Those folks going back to their respective patrol divisions or whatever, and talking about that. What was your experience with what he's saying?
99% of them that didn't make it went away with a good feeling and were ambassadors for us. 99%.
Yeah.
I mean, even though they were disappointed, and some of them were devastated, they just didn't make it. We had a very high washout ratio, about 90% for tactical flight officer. It's changed. Manny had a lot to do with that. Our friend Manny Dickerson, who retired on Friday. But with that said, I mean, there was a few that were, just ticked off. But most of them ended up being great ambassadors. And we'd hear it. We'd hear, hey, man, I heard so-and-so didn't make it. But, man, he really is educating us on what's going on up there. And he really loved the opportunity. He learned this and that. And we go, wow, we're doing something right in that realm. Even though, that person didn't make it, they walked away with an understanding of what we do and how we do it and how hard it is. And it motivated them to come back and try again. A lot of them did. And some of them made it on the second try, but yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's important that people walk away from either a ride along or a loan or something, that it wasn't just a ride to see the pretty lights on the beach. It was, man, I picked up something tonight that I had no idea that these guys listen to 5 frequencies. That was a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very valuable. The more your customer knows about your job, the better your relationship's going to be working together, no doubt.
Initially, I thought the TDY program was more for us to vet potential TFOs.
Yeah.
But I think it's actually more to give them a chance to determine whether or not it's something that's for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you said, when you're on the ground and you're looking up on a call,
Yep.
you're sitting on a perimeter and the helicopter's turning, especially if it's raining outside or it's really hot or it's really cold, they're looking up thinking, man, that's got to be the gig right there. But I see now that this gives them an opportunity to come in because they might not really have an idea or any clue at all exactly what goes on. And I think some people, they find out once they go up there that, this is a pretty cool job, but it's not for me.
I agree 100%, and I have proof. We had people on a 1-month loan, their 1-month loan to come to air support. They went through the oral, did all that, and 2 weeks in went to the watch commander and said, can't do it. I don't know how you guys frickin' do it. I love you guys. Thanks for the opportunity, but this job is not for me. That happened regularly. Exactly what you're talking about. They had an idea what we did. And then once they had to sit in the seat and actually look through a map book and talk, and they go, ooh, this maybe is not, this is over my head. And they knew it, and they'd leave their loan 2 weeks early. And it was like, oh my gosh. I think they worked hard to get that loan, but they knew. Because the job is not for everyone. I had a slide years ago that I had in one of my presentations that said the TFO job is not for everyone. And it was a picture of me and my buddy Jim Haggerty, one of the best police officers I ever worked with, and he could not make it. And it was him with Billy Bob teeth in him. We were goofing around, but to make it funny. But the point of the slide was it isn't for everybody. Just like SWAT and just like Bomb Squad and K9, these specialized things are not for everybody. You can have this motivation, you can work hard, but maybe the job's just not for you. Yeah. But anyway.
I think we also pull people TDY, but we also just say, hey, if you're an FTO, like all of our trainers on the road, they all know that they can call up and say, hey, I've got a trainee tonight. Can I bring them over for 3 or 4 hours? And then we take them up and give them, if we can head that off at the pass, like before they even start here, and they have a better understanding of how we're going to incorporate. And then same thing with our supervisors. So the way that our agency works, the supervisor, a sergeant and above, has to actually call us out. So what ends up happening is that phone call that you just heard, that's that's typically how we get our calls. Very rarely are we listening to a radio unless we're flying. So a supervisor calls. So go into the supervisor's academy that we have here and really setting aside an hour to an hour and a half to sit down and talk with them and say, all right, let's manage expectations. Let's figure out exactly how you think we're going to operate, and let me tell you exactly how we do operate, and then what we can give you. These are the services we can provide. This is how we can build your SA. This is the tools that we have on board that will make it to where you are more successful doing whatever you're doing, whether that's setting a perimeter, looking for a missing person, doing surveillance. A lot of these guys come from specialty units where they've done long surveillance, and now we end up doing a lot of surveillance, high altitude surveillance. So, what to expect, what are our capabilities, and then how to employ us. Don't call us for certain things. Call us for certain things.
Yeah.
It's like those are the kind of the two big ones.
Yeah.
People kind of.
Well, one of our newest guys, Logan, came from a unit that was very surveillance heavy unit. And just within I think he's been here just a little over a year now, he arranged to have a couple of classes to bring all of the squads from his old unit in to kind of give them a primer on what things look like from where we're at, our tactics.
Yeah.
I sat through a couple of those classes. But, yeah, here was a scenario where we brought somebody from one of those specialized units, and because of his connections back to the guys he used to work with, we were able to bring them in and kind of get them at least an education. I don't think that had ever been done before.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, we got great feedback from that. Like all the supervisors, everybody was like, "This is amazing." And now we have additional units that are like, "Hey, can we get some of that?" Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, you start something good, get ready. It's gonna spread like wildfire. But that's good stuff. That's really good, and especially when you get somebody that comes here. And now you have a kind of a liaison to grease the skids and go, "Yeah, let's make it happen. Let's get some more training going." Good stuff. All right, Lieutenant Nicoletti, let's go back to you and even though we had 208, 209 episodes, tell us about yourself and your background and how you ended up here at Aviation.
Oh, man. A lot like Ron's initial start. Man, I wasn't in diapers. That's,
nobody was.
Definitely got me beat on that. No, my parents, I grew up right here, like a mile away from the hangar. So I grew up just watching aircraft fly all the time, running the approach corridor for one of the runways. And my dad was in the Army Reserve, also right here. And they had a Huey come in when I was a kid. I must have been 4 or 5. And Huey landed. I remember sitting in the pilot seat, and I was like, yep, this is what I'm going to do. So, that was it. And they fully supported it. My parents are unbelievable. I've got an older brother too. He's, they were just a great upbringing, very supportive family. So, yeah, I was, my dad, I got involved in Civil Air Patrol. So that's where I got my first 14 hours flying Civil Air Patrol down at Lantana Airport. I was 14. And then got my license when I was 16. And I just flew fixed wing until I went to a military college. I went to Citadel, and then my parents supported that. Like, my dad's like, all right, you got your license, so now you're going to continue flying. So, like, once a month, he's like, you will go to the airport and you will fly. I was like, roger that, Dad. No problem.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Yeah, I was like, no, don't do it. So, it was a lot of fun. So, flying around, the low country of South Carolina, taking up friends who had never flown before. It was super cool. Great experience. We started, like, an aero club there. One of the guys went on to be a Thunderbird. And the other guy's he's Blue Angel number 4 now.
Wow.
Brandon Wilkins.
Currently?
Yeah, he's currently the Blue Angel.
No kidding.
Blue Angel number 4. Yeah, just, I guess, like, internally promoted from Blue Angel 3 to 4.
Yep.
So, super cool group of guys. Just, just like flying around. And, I started doing that. And then I graduated the Citadel, became a cop while I was waiting to go to flight school for the Army National Guard. It was like a 2-year wait list. So, started working at Town of Palm Beach, which is right here as well, and went to flight school, deployed with the Army National Guard to Iraq on my first tour, and that's when I started flying Blackhawks. Love that. It was, once you're, flying fixed wing, don't get me wrong, I love flying fixed wing, especially it's got its moments. But man, when you're ripping around in a whirlybird, it's hard to beat.
Right.
So, yeah, that just solidified exactly how I was gonna moved the trajectory of my career. So working the road was okay. I was actually working a plane crash over on the beach, and I was just sitting there waiting. Everyone survived. Everyone was fine. I'm just sitting there waiting for NTSB, and they come remove this thing. And PBS's Eagle comes by, and they do an orbit. And then they just keep going. And I was like, oh, man. I got to get off this beach. So, yeah, I took a job. I had like 750 hours total time, and I took a job. I got hired by Martin County to fly for them. Built time really fast, flew a lot, flew like 1,400 hours in 3 years, became their chief pilot. That wasn't sustainable. I was still in the military doing reserve stuff. I knew I had looking down the barrel of another deployment, so I was like, well, I got to figure something to do. I knew that they were going to have openings here. Not a sure thing by any means. And I was like, my wife and I talked about it. And we're like, let's roll the dice, see what happens. So got hired, worked out west on the road. Opening came up, and I hopped on it.
Thank you to our sponsor, Robinson Helicopter Company, the choice for unrivaled safety and reliability, so you can accomplish any mission with confidence. For more than half a century, Robinson has been at the forefront of the helicopter industry. From the R-22 to the R-66 turbine, Robinson makes helicopters accessible so more people can accomplish more missions. Climb higher. For additional information, visit www.robinsonheli.com.
That was it. And I've been here, promoted out twice. When you make sergeant, they make you leave your specialty unit and go back out to the road. So did that. Had a tour to Iraq in between. Went out to the road for a year, which was actually really helpful. So you're talking about, curbing everyone's kind of mindset on how to use aviation. Well, I know exactly how to use them because I was just doing it. So, and I also had a better understanding, right? So like, you call the aviation unit up at 3 a.m. and say, hey, I need you guys to be on standby for this. Well, do you really need them on standby? Because the guys just flew all day. Like, let them get a little bit of rest. If you don't need them, don't call them. So I think kind of like injecting where I could lightly. I'm still a sergeant at a very big agency. But, that was a lot of fun. I saw that there was a lot of respect for the aviation unit itself. Lieutenants and captains will come up and say, hey, is this the appropriate way to use them, or do you want me to, should I do something different? And that was very insightful because all those guys who had been, supervisors for a decade were now like, hey, since I have you here, let me ask you this quick question. And that was really, it was an eye-opening. It was a very good experience. I was very happy that I did that. And then thankfully I got to come back. Obviously flying's still the passion. So then I was here as a sergeant. I switched over to the Air Force, which was a lot of fun. So now I fly combat rescue in the reserves for the Air Force. Still 60s, so it's my 5th version of a Black Hawk.
Wow.
A lot of fun. Love that machine. And then made lieutenant, went back as a watch commander for a little bit, and then they pulled me back. So,
well, welcome back.
It's good to be back. It's good to be back.
It's I know it is. I saw that Citadel Aero Club on something that you sent me, and I went, man, I got to ask what that is. So it was just people that were attending the Citadel. You said, hey, there's got to be some other pilots here, or people that want to be pilots. Was that the idea?
Yeah, that was it. Man, it was pretty ad hoc. Like we just kind of just threw it together.
Yeah.
Turned into a couple guys. One guy, Dixon, he was a CFII as like 19. His dad was his dad was I think an airline pilot. I think his whole family's like pilots.
Yeah.
So now he flies A-10s in the Air Force, active duty. So we've actually seen each other a couple times after we graduated. He came down to the unit and supported us for an exercise once. And but yeah, it's just a cool group of guys, really. Everyone kind of went into military separate ways. Everyone ended up being pilots. So it was, but really all we did was like get together, and if somebody was studying for a test, we'd give them a little insight, really Dixon mostly. Rest of us were like, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, I think just getting out and just keeping the experience.
But the two guys, the Thunderbird and a Blue Angel, were in that club.
Yep.
That you started.
Whit Collins.
That's really
he
pretty
was,
cool.
Thunderbird. I think he went to the Aggressor Squadron maybe like 5 years ago. And then, Brandon Wilkins.
Very cool.
Blue Angel. Yeah.
Now, we talked about the Citadel at length in the first, recording we did together. But for folks that are listening who didn't hear that, preview the Citadel, because it's a big deal in my opinion. It's an amazing program. Talk about the program and what your takeaways were from having gone there.
I mean, my family and I were looking at the academies. I was not a Scholastic protege by any means, so I don't know if that was really something that I wanted to dive into, but we did go to the academies and we looked at them, and Air Force Academy was like negative 32 degrees. Like I said, I grew up right here. That's not happening. Yeah. But, we went around, we looked at the academies, and I knew I wanted to fly in the military. I wasn't really dedicated to a certain branch. So it was just a great option because, we pulled up, and as we pulled up, I opened the door, C-17s landing. It's right on the approach corridor for Charleston, and then 2 T-38s flew. I was like, yeah, let's go. Summer's off, which was huge. I like to, dive and fish and basically do whatever other Florida boys do. So, it was a great experience for me. I'm very tight with like 30 of my classmates. We're all in a group chat together. It's a different dynamic totally. It's just the experience that you have and the relationships that you build there. You can't manufacture that anywhere else.
Right.
Like, you have to be immersed in it. And then, everyone goes off, and if you see a guy with a Citadel sticker, like, I know I can't vouch for everybody else, but I know when I see another Citadel sticker and I don't recognize the car, I get super hype. I'm like, oh man, there's another one, because there's less Citadel grads in the world than there are people enrolled at a major university.
Wow.
Like, there's just not a lot of us. So when you find one, you get pretty pumped up.
Yeah.
And it's like an instant connection. Not everyone's, a winner, but it's probably solid like 90%. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
really good. People for the academies, sorry, real quick. In the academies, they say it's a good place to be from, not necessarily a place you enjoy going to. Was that the same idea at the Citadel, or is it different?
The cool part about the human experience is that we kind of suppress all the bad stuff. So I don't feel that way. Your first year, that's not fun, but everything else is. I mean, it's fun. Like, we're super tight. You do things that like nobody at any, FSU, kids at FSU aren't doing the stuff that we did. So it's just different. It takes a certain person. I mean, we wash out a lot of people. It's like 40%. So, I mean, people who aren't supposed to be there because they don't, have the mentality to be there, then they go do something else. That's fine. But everyone else who stays, it's a lot of fun.
What's a typical class size?
I think we graduated with, I want to say we graduated with like 428 or something like that.
Yeah, that's big difference from the academies,
Yeah, I want to say that's right. I constantly mess that kind of stuff up. I need my wife for that kind of stuff. I never remember that.
You want to call a friend?
Yeah, no, she'll be like, "Yeah, you dummy."
No, that's no, that's so I mean, that's small enough where everybody.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody. You may not know them very well,
right?
And there's a little bit of like company and battalion and like who's better type deal, but I mean, you still know everybody.
Yeah.
So that part's cool. And our reunions are big and it's fun. Charleston's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's fun. You've never been to Charleston? You got to go. It's really amazing. And Fort Sumter, all the Navy. There's a battleship or a flight or an
aircraft carrier.
Aircraft carrier there. That's right. Really fun place to go, no doubt. All right, Ron, you're going to give us the Palm Beach County overview. Talk about the county size, population, whatever you want, about the Everglades, being part of it and all that, and then switch gears and tell us about the sheriff's office and personnel and stuff.
Yeah. So if you don't count the part of the county that's underwater in Lake Okeechobee, we're the second largest county in the state of Florida. I think we're just shy of 2,000 square miles.
Wow.
Collier County's being the largest, about 47 miles of beach. For us, that's right around the Tequesta area, goes all the way down to Boca Raton. We're bordered by Martin County, where Drew used to work, on the north side, and Broward County to the south. I think the last it feels like there's a billion people living here now. But I think the last estimate that was thought up was something on the order of 1.6 or 1.7 million people here.
Wow.
Definitely growing for sure. And I think with the weather that the rest of the country's been having, I was just having this discussion with my wife earlier today. I definitely think we're in for a population swell here very soon.
Yeah.
When you're in the air, if you look, you'll notice that pretty much all of civilization is jammed up within 15 miles of the beach. Pretty good mix of the urban, suburban, and then rural areas. Once you get past that 15-mile line, though, it's either agriculture, which is like one of our biggest money makers here, in addition to the real estate thing. I think cane. Can't think of. I know we grow corn. Mostly agriculture, and then anything that's not agriculture west of town is Everglades,
right.
Basically just flooded grasslands.
Yep.
There are some smaller farming communities out to the west, very small, right on the kind of the edge of Lake Okeechobee. It's about I would say it's about a 15-minute ride, 12 to 15-minute ride as the crow flies, if you have a halfway decent tailwind to work calls out there. What else can I say?
One thing I thought was interesting was talk about the concentration of wealth that exists on the shoreline, just not far from here.
Yes. Some of the most, obviously, Mar-a-Lago's right up the street. Anybody who's watched television in the last 6 years has probably seen Palm Beach County, or if you watch the news daily, this time of year, you're going to see parts of Palm Beach County in the background just because of the president making routine visits here. But yeah, tremendous amount of wealth here. Earlier today, the training we were doing, I think we were probably making portions of our turns over Sylvester Stallone's home, which is right over there on the barrier island, and a couple people. Drew would know more. I know Drew spent some time on the island, but yes, you weren't with us either, but I think Steve Jobs, the late Steve Jobs, I think his yacht was parked over there.
Oh,
yeah. It looked
there were some big ones that we saw yesterday.
Very big,
wow.
Very, very expensive. So yes, quite a bit of wealth here.
We took our luxurious minivan to get barbecue. We pull in the parking lot, and there's a $400,000 Bentley in the parking lot, amongst a whole variety of other luxury cars. I'm like, oh boy, don't dent any of these things. You know?
Is that the steakhouse?
It was tropical
Tropical Smokehouse.
Yeah, very good.
Excellent. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
it was on your
Sly
list.
goes in there every once in a while too.
Yeah, we got a list from Drew.
The list.
And the list.
Yeah.
And we checked 3 of them, and all 3 were good. So you can continue to provide that list.
I will actually write your
endorsement.
Yeah, your
How many
endorsement.
stars?
Our Yelp review.
Yeah. I have to make a bunch of new copies now.
Yeah. So tell us about the department now.
Yeah, the agency of about 4,400 employees. I think we're somewhere around 2,400 sworn. 1,500 of those are law enforcement. The rest is corrections and courts.
Okay, covers all 3.
Agency covers all courts. Yeah. The sheriff's office. I don't really know anybody that works outside of the state of Florida, but here, especially in Palm Beach County, the sheriff's office is the, let's say, premier, or it's the main law enforcement agency. There's 37 or 38 municipalities. We have contracts with several of them where we provide law enforcement services to them, but we do have a couple municipal police departments in the area. The agency, extremely specialized. You've seen kind of just a slice of it,
right?
With the units that we've had hanging around these last couple of days, but it goes so much deeper than that. The crime laboratory is apparently second to none, I think, nationally.
Wow.
We have K-9 division. Obviously, we have a bomb squad, Marine unit. We have a tactical division. Those are our kind of what I think is akin to the U.S. Marshals. Those are the guys that when we have very high-profile cases,
right,
very dangerous suspects that need apprehending, is the tactical unit. Very large SWAT team, 20 patrol districts throughout the county. We have our own motor pool. So the agency's fleet, which is probably twice as big as the people that we have working here. All that stuff's done in-house. Yeah, that's about all I can.
No, that's good. It's very impressive, and it brings to light that because of, well, not just because a president's residence this year, but your agency needs to be prepared for a lot more than the average agency.
Yeah, things have changed in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
We've had some things that some ground we've had to cover in order to support that mission.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And it appears to us, because we've talked about it, that you're getting that support. I mean, especially here, in aviation, but it's obvious with the SWAT guys too. And then you take that and say, okay, well, everybody has a SWAT team. Yeah, but are the SWAT teams doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G and staying current? We're going to talk about that more in a few minutes, but that'll come up. The multi-mission that you do is really pretty extensive. So not surprised that you have all that. So Drew, give us the overview of aviation.
So aviation, so just like Ron said, I mean, it's a very large county, and we service all the municipalities. We're the only law enforcement aviation asset for the entire county. So all these municipalities, if they call for a helicopter, they're getting us. So that kind of leads into all the additional training that we have to do. So we have 16 line pilots. Not everyone is a pilot yet, but we don't hire direct just to be a TFO, so we don't have any dedicated TFO spots. So they're either a pilot or training to be a pilot. So they'll come into the unit, and the first thing they're going to do is learn how to be a TFO, and they're probably going to do that for about 6 months to a year, depending on how we're going to work out. If they don't end up working out, it's fine. We have a hiring list. We just grab another one, bring them in, and then we talk about that as a crew. Like, everybody in the unit comes together. I don't make the decision on who's coming into the unit in a vacuum. They all have input, because typically these people have already been here. And there's no way, first of all, no one's going to tell me exactly, what their motivations are. That's going to come out when they're washing an aircraft, and that's going to come out when they're, I'm not going to have the most insight on who these people are, really. Mm-hmm. So I rely on the rest of the unit members to really kind of decide, hey, who are we selecting for the unit? And then once we do that, then we move forward, and we have an eligibility list, and we'll pull from that list and then kind of decide, hey, they're working out or they're not. So that being said, 16 line pilots. We have a sergeant, Mike Musto, who's the sergeant here, and then myself as far as that chain of command. And then we've got 4 full-time mechanics. One of them is director of maintenance. So Kenny Beck, who's been working on helicopters longer than most people in the unit have been alive. So he touched the first one, and he's touched every single one since.
Yeah,
so
cool.
That was really cool. He's one of the first people that we met when we came in the door, is Kenny.
Yeah. He's a legend.
He was introduced to us exactly like that. I mean, I think you did the introduction.
I think actually Ron did. But,
you did.
But
this man touched with a wrench the first helicopter in this unit in
1969.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Still here.
And talk about experience.
You'd be hard pressed to find anybody in the Southeast region who does not know Kenny Beck.
Wow.
So yeah, he's a staple. So
very cool.
He's been a key part in developing this unit. And then, we've got 3 other maintenance technicians. You actually are talking to Matt Callender. Matt Callender is unbelievable guy, so he's, a huge part of the team as well. And then we've got Yvette, who's our secretary. She runs the show.
She
makes
is in
sure
charge.
She makes sure we're all in line. So, but yeah, it's as far as the unit itself, the aviation unit itself, I mean, we've got 4 Bell 429s. They're hoist capable or fast rope capable. We run MX-15s on the nose, which I think a lot of agencies may not have the need for, but we certainly do. We do a lot of high altitude surveillance, 4,500, 5,500 feet. I think you've had it up to 10.
12.5.
12.5.
12.5 on surveillance one night.
Yeah, close to the moon.
Yeah.
Felt like it. I was leaning away from the door. I was starting to get
trying
some
to suck a little oxygen.
issue with heights.
We actually, John and I were on a surveillance yesterday for a little bit.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We scrambled with one of the crews and got to witness that. So
yeah, well, no oxygen needed for yesterday, I hope. But,
no, it wasn't.
Yeah,
not
it
even
was
close. Not even close.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Hangar Z podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more stories that promote the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation. Lastly, stand by for a message after a word from our sponsors. Cheers.
Thank you to our sponsor, Robinson Helicopter Company, the choice for unrivaled safety and reliability, so you can accomplish any mission with confidence. For more than half a century, Robinson has been at the forefront of the helicopter industry. From the R-22 to the R-66 turbine, Robinson makes helicopters accessible so more people can accomplish more missions. Climb higher. For additional information, visit www.robinsonheli.com.
Thank you to our sponsor, Rotorcraft Support. Rotorcraft Support, from the hangar floor to the flight line. We've spent 40 years caring for the aircraft that communities rely on every day. Rotorcraft Support, where dedication meets decades of experience.
Thank you to our sponsor, SpectroLab. SpectroLab, a pioneer and world-leading supplier of high-intensity searchlights for all para-public operations. Visit www.spectrolab.com to learn more about our third-generation Night Sun series high-intensity searchlight. When reliability and performance is critical to your mission, count on SpectroLab Night Sun searchlights.
We hope you enjoyed these episodes of the Hangar Z podcast. It was a lot of fun being here at Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. John, what do you think of our first stop here?
Yeah, hard to beat, right? What a great conversation. What an amazing program they've got here. Just a great time.
It really was. Our guests were great. Drew Nicoletti, who's been on before. He's the lieutenant here. Great leader. Ron Bloezer, one of their pilots. That was really fun having Ron on. His story was fantastic, leading up to how he ends up being a pilot. Fascinating. So step one of 4 is done. On to the next.
Yeah, just as you listen, focus on the leadership aspects that we talk about. Drew's one of those leaders that we theorize about all the time, and they really exist. He's proof of that. At the end of part 2, you have to listen to the impactful moments that they talk about. Some really interesting incidents and impactful incidents they are a part of, last of which was an officer down scenario and the importance of being prepared for those.
It really was. Their incidents were really good examples. 2 very different incidents and 2 great examples of what law enforcement aviation is all about. So thanks for joining us. We really appreciate all of you listening and watching, and it's our honor to be at these units and try and learn more for all of you, because we're sure learning a lot.
Yeah.
We walk away every time with more. So thank you for joining us. We'll catch you the next time on the Hangar Z podcast.